So to begin this project, I have myself a couple of these oddly shaped decor signs from the Dollar Tree, and I grabbed these a couple of months ago, not knowing exactly what I was going to be doing with them. I knew I wanted to pick two up just in case, and so I'm glad I did. And I also picked up a couple of these nesting drawers, and they come in 3 different sizes. So to begin this project, I'm going to start by removing that shrink wrap from my sign and removing the clips because I'm not going to be needing them for this project. After removing that shrink wrap, I went ahead and also removed those annoying greenbrier labels from off of the back. So now I'm going to proceed with removing the paper clips, the clothespins as well, because I'm not going to be needing them, and I'm also going to be removing this jute rope. During the process of removing those clothespins, as you can see, I ran into some problems here and it lifted up that paper, so I'm going to be scraping off that paper off of all the board. And to remove, I'm simply using my little Cricut spatula, and I'm peeling it up a little at a time. And this will ensure an even coverage whenever I go to paint it, so that none of the words will show through. And so I'm fine with that, and I'm just going to continue the process of peeling off that paper on both of these boards. Okay, so here's a look at what we got going on now that we removed that paper, and it did leave behind, it's kind of like linty. I don't know, I'm not really crazy about the texture, but we're going to go over it with some paint in a minute. However, what we are going to be doing now is we're going to be using the reverse side. And so then I have a pack of these wooden planks from the Crafter Square section at the Dollar Tree. So what I went ahead and did off camera is I took 2 of these wooden planks and I cut them down to size. I took 1 plank and I measured it out to the length of my drawers here, and I cut it down. So this was the 1 plank that I cut down, and then I took another plank and I cut it down onto these little pieces that we're going to be using as stabilizers, and I'll show you how we do that in a minute. So because these drawers stagger in size, because they are nesting drawers and they start from the biggest to the smallest, this thing is going to go in this way and then pop out. So we want to try to keep this as stable as possible. So the reason why I went ahead and cut this one down to size is because in order to stabilize it, I'm going to be gluing this together and putting this board on the back. And then for the smaller shelves, because once this is glued together, it's going to be separated and they won't fit. It's hard to show you because, I only have 2 hands. So, but the other drawers, in order for them to stay stable, I'm going to have to put little stabilizers and glue pieces on so that the drawers could sit on. So that's where these pieces came in, and I'm sorry I don't have any precise measurements because I usually just eyeball everything, and that's what I did. I just cut down the pieces. And so what I wanted to show you as well is that if you can't find these planks at your Dollar Tree, you could also use these wooden dominoes as well that they carry in the toy section at Dollar Tree, which is another option. I thought of using these first in case I had a hard time cutting these down, but they were pretty simple to cut through, so I decided to go with plan A as opposed to plan B. So I'm gonna start by gluing this down to the board first. Okay, so to start this off, I'm simply going to be using some of this Dollar Tree Super Wood Glue. And so as you see, I have this standing up here like this. So I'm going to start by adding a little bit of this Super Wood Glue to the edge of this first. Okay, so I added the wood glue onto the edges of the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the plank itself, just for faster adhesion. And we're just gonna put it on both sides of the plank. And then I'm gonna apply it to the board as such. Okay, so here's a look at what we got going on. So off camera, I was able to glue it down, but this glue was not doing justice and it was just falling apart. So I ended up going with the hot glue, and then I added a few staples to it off camera just because I felt like it wasn't secure enough. And then those little pieces of wood that I cut out, I made like little ledges inside. I just glued them on there. I tried to play with the idea of putting a couple of staples, but this board is very flimsy, and I tried to shoot a couple of staples in one and it just knocked them right off. So it's gonna have to stay like that with just the glue, but you know, it's not like we're gonna put heavyweight stuff on it. So be mindful that it's just for decor purposes and we're only going to be putting light stuff on it. So now with those extra planks, we're just gonna go and lightly sit them on top. I cut them down about 1/4 of an inch because they were a little bit too long. So I cut them down to fit inside on top of those ledges. And so now we're able to sit our little drawers right on top of those planks, and they should be pretty good as is. So now what's next to do is I'm going to hit the outside with a coat of this Craftwise chalkboard paint, and I do get this from the Dollar Tree and it works great. So we're going to hit the outside. I really like the neutral tone of the wooden boxes, so I'm going to be leaving the boxes as is, and I'm just going to be giving the outside a coat of paint. So as previously mentioned, I'm going to come in with some of this here Craftwise chalkboard paint from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be giving it a nice generous coat to both the outside as well as the inside, and also those little makeshift shelf brackets that we created, and also the planks that are going to be sitting on top of them. And I'm just going to give it one good coat of this black paint so that we can move on to the next step. And now, through the magic of YouTube, we have our shelf completely painted and dried, as well as the two little planks. And so I painted them on both sides. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take some of this here mounting tape that I purchased at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to stick a little tab on each side of the plaque just to lay it on those little braces that I put there, just to give them some stability. Now it's just a matter of removing those adhesive backings on all those little sticky tabs that we have, and we just pull them off as such. And I'm just going to be adhering that right on top of the little brace that we made there, just to give our shelf a little more stability to be able to hold those little drawers. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the top shelf as well. And here's a look at our shelf all put together. And so now I have some little odds and ends that I'm going to play around with to put inside these drawers so that we can put our shelf together. So for the top, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this little vase. And I got this little vase from the Target Dollar Spot. It came in a pack of 3, and this little succulent is from the Dollar Tree. Most of these items are all from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these two things together in this box. And then in the second box here, I have this little plaque that just says welcome with the sunflowers. It's actually a hanging plaque, but I'm just going to tuck that in. And I'm sorry, I'm a little bit off camera there. I'm going to tuck that in there as such. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this little succulent. This came from the Target Dollar Spot as well around Easter. It's supposed to mimic like a little egg but I'm gonna put it in here just the same, and I'm gonna put 2 of these little twine balls, also from the Dollar Tree. And then lastly, I have this little boxwood ball. This was from the Dollar Tree, as well as the twine twigs, and I'm gonna put that in the bottom one, and we're gonna put it all together and see how it looks. Okay, so first things first, we're going to put the bottom drawer in first for good measure, and it slides right in just as such. And then we're gonna go ahead and put that second drawer on the second shelf, and then lastly the third one on the top. And that's it, guys. That's all she wrote. That's the end of this DIY. Of course, you can add a tag to these little label holders if you choose to, but I'd rather not for now. This way I can, you know, switch it out seasonally, because I can see myself repurposing this project throughout all the seasons, and just put different seasonal decor in it. Like I could put pumpkins and hearts and all kinds of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this DIY, and I hope you take a chance and try to create it as well.